We begin the countdown with the last mission of the game, Priority Earth. Priority Earth is known for not living up to the standards of a final mission, but it still managed to hit all the right areas to make it on this list. When you're arriving, Steve Cortez describes the area as hell, and I'd say that's fairly accurate. In contrast with how bright and well put together the planet was at the start of the game, everything is now dark, gray, and in ruins. This is not some triumphant moment. Even with Shepard on the ground, things still look bleak. The setting really shows why winning a conventional war with the Reapers is impossible. And even when you have a moment's rest, you can still see and hear things happening around you. Speaking of which, your final conversations with all of your squad mates shows that this really is the end. From Tali and Garrus to Jack and Miranda, you know, everyone except for Jacob, every member of your crew knows that you will get the job done no matter what. The final area of the mission really sells how hopeless things seem. You have to hold out against multiple brutes, a couple of banshees, and a harvester that won't stop dogging you. And in the background, there's just a Reaper shooting at you. Even Shepard seems like they're unsure if they can hold the line on this one.
Hold on, everyone. We can do this.
But once you do survive, you enter the best part of the mission, the run towards the Citadel beam. It's an amazing set piece with helicopters, soldiers, and Makos all trying to make the run towards the beam. But Harbinger isn't having any of that, and he's just beaming all of you down. Even your squad mates aren't safe. They'll either be injured and sent back to the Normandy, or vaporized right before your eyes. Shepard has to make the run alone, and even they barely make it. Priority Earth might be filled with missed opportunities, but the atmosphere it sets is amazing. And this is where everything's on the line, and that's why it's number 10. The 9th entry on the list is The Arrival. You are tasked with rescuing an Alliance operative that's been trapped in Batarian space. And because Admiral Hackett wants you to go alone, we'll get to see what Shepard can do without their squad. The Arrival gives you a stealth opportunity to show that Shepard can do a lot more than just shoot a gun. And you still get to see Shepard be a one-person army. After you save Amanda Kenton, she has to override security so you can escape. And during that time, it's up to Shepard to stop all the Batarians from coming in and stopping her. It's a fun and challenging area since you're on your own. Once you get to Project Base, you can see that the Reapers are only 2 days away from invading the galaxy. Too bad Kenton and her team left the Reaper artifact out in the open, leading to them all being indoctrinated and capturing Shepard. But you know how that goes. Shepard easily broke out. But the clock is still ticking and we need to get this asteroid moving. Going solo once again, Shepard must tear through all the people in their way. It is satisfying yet haunting listening to everyone panic as Shepard closes in on them.
Shepard is tearing us apart.
Near the end, we get a preview of what it takes to defeat the Reapers. As Garrus puts it, it's the cruel calculus of war. 300,000 people die over here so the galaxy gets more time to prepare. After one final push in dealing with Kenton, you finally get to meet the leader of the Reapers, Harbinger, giving Shepard a chance to give an iconic speech. The Arrival is a tense and challenging mission, and it is vital going into the plot of Mass Effect 3, and that's why it's number 9. Time to take a break from the world-ending apocalypse and enjoy some shore leave. The Citadel is cheesy, over the top, and full of fan service, and I wouldn't have it any other way. When the mission starts, it's guns, and then more guns, and then more guns, and then a big-ass Krogan giving them the people's elbow. If there's any reason to like this mission at all, it's the fact that it gives us Rex back. That and all the great banter between squad mates.
It involved the weapons biometric data, Solarian intelligence, and a Hanar prostitute with camera implants.
Getting to the main part of the mission, you run into the true antagonist of this story. It's a goddamn clone. And as silly as it is, it kind of works. The clone is menacing and also threatening, which makes sense because it's Shepard. But let's be honest, the best thing about this area is that all of your squad mates are with you. All hands are on deck for this one, giving us some great dialogue.
On high ground with a sniper rifle. Doesn't get any better than this.
Finally, we get a boss fight that Mass Effect 3 was sorely missing. The clone is a tough fight because they mirror your class, and can even heal in battle just like you. But at the end of the day, there's only one Commander, Shepard. After dealing with the clone and Maya Brooks, it'll be time to really enjoy shore leave and have that great party, with all of it ending with one final goodbye. For a lot of people, and myself included, this is where the game ends. One final hurrah for all the friends you made in the Mass Effect universe. The Citadel is fun, action-packed, and has a satisfying ending, and that's why it's number 8. If there's one word to use to describe Overlord, it's a nightmare. This is arguably the scariest Mass Effect has ever been. When you arrive at the labs, the first thing you see is bodies, and everything is eerily quiet. As you move through the mission, you encounter this green face making unrecognizable noises. But the further and further you get, the more and more you can understand it. And then this so-called rogue VI starts messing with you, or rather, it's guiding you. And as you follow the path, you realize that Gavin Archer forced this on his brother David. When you arrive at the VI core, you realize that it's targeting the Normandy, and that's when things get serious. This area is tense between all the Geth that are spawning in, while you're trying to stop the upload. But when you finally succeed, you get to see the true horror of what occurred.
Quiet. Please, make it stop.
What we see here is so vile that a Paragon Shepard will choose violence. And on even the hardest of my Renegade runs, I have not been able to send David to Cerberus. Overlord is on this list because of the reaction it draws out of me. The sadness for David, the disgust for Archer, and Overlord really did the impossible when it made me remember a math equation. The square root of 912.04 is 30.2. It wasn't all harmless. You've reunited with Legion and hopefully rescued Admiral Chorus, and you've learned the history of the Geth and the Quarian War. And now it's time to end this 300-year-old conflict once and for all. Priority Randic is a mission 3 games in the making. From the moment you first encounter the Geth to when you meet Tali, to both Tali's and Legion's loyalty missions, this is the conclusion we've been waiting for. When you arrive, you get to see Tali soak in the landscape of her homeworld. And that's when you realize that this isn't just about the Geth or the Reapers. We're doing this one for Tally too. You press through all the Reaper-controlled Geth and reach the top of the Reaper base. And let me tell you, the area with all the Geth primes is one of the hardest fights in the game. But once you clear them, you take aim at the Reaper base and... surprise, it's a Reaper. The first time experiencing this is wild. After a short chase, Shepard decides they've had enough. You're gonna fight the Reaper on foot. You defeat this Reaper cleanly, and it's almost like you can really win this war. And now it's time for the fated choice, the Geth, the Quarians, or will you achieve peace? Priority Randic ends 3 games worth of build-up and has some of the highest stakes in the entire trilogy. And that's why it's number 6. The events of Mass Effect 1 are coming to a close. Saren is closing in on the Conduit, but the Council won't go to Ilos. And even worse, the Normandy has been grounded, but we won't let that stop us. With the help of Captain Anderson, we steal the Normandy and go chasing after Saren. It's a race against time. This mission is fast-paced. Joker drops you off and you get straight to it. You have to cut through all of Saren's Geth, knowing that he's getting closer and closer to the Conduit. But you still get some world building when you talk to Vigil. This is the first time you hear about the Protheans and their extinction in such detail. But that's enough talking. We have to stop Saren. So we take our Mako and go through the Conduit, which is probably the craziest stunt in all of Mass Effect. The attack has already begun. And even though this is only the first game in the trilogy, the stakes couldn't be higher. We fail here and the galaxy is done. You catch up with Saren and deal with him once and for all, but then Sovereign assumes direct control. This boss may not be anything special, but it presents a final challenge that the last 2 games were missing. You defeat Saren and Sovereign goes down, and we live happily ever after. You know, until Shepard dies. Our race against time perfectly bookends the first game and lays the foundation for the next 2 games. It's tense, has world building, and has high stakes, and that's why it's number 5. Coming in at number 4, we have Vermaier. This mission is a turning point, not just in Mass Effect 1, but in the trilogy overall. To begin with, you may lose 1, if not 2 squad mates. Starting with Rex, this is where he confronts you over the genophage cure, and if you can't talk him down, either you or Ashley will kill him. Moving into the assault, we see a prototype for the suicide mission, with you giving tasks to both Ashley and Kaidan, and completing other tasks to keep Captain Kirrahe alive. Halfway through the assault, we have a moment that everyone remembers, Sovereign's introduction. Talking to this thing is the first time Mass Effect ever shook me.
You exist because we allow it, and you will end because we demand it.
Sovereign ends your talking and Joker radios in and tells you that both it and Saren are on their way back. And that's when we get to the fated choice. Now, you might find one of these characters to be boring and the other one to be racist, but having to leave one squad mate behind is impactful for the series. After you pick, you move to go rescue your target, and then you run into Saren. This is the first time you ever see him in person, and you can finally figure out just what's going on with him. After a brief talk, the boss fight starts up, and while it isn't hard, it is good to finally fight the guy who's been standing in your way. The fight ends and both you and Saren escape, and you watch as the squad mate you left behind gets turned to ash. If there's one mission you're waiting to get to in Mass Effect 1, it's always Vermaier. It is the perfect rising action moment in the game to prep you for the end. Priority Tuchanka has a lot going for it. It is a conclusion for both Rex and Mordin, as well as the end for the entire Genophage storyline. The real unique thing about this mission is all the various ways that they can play out. Bakara may live or she may die. You can allow Mordin to cure the Genophage, you can stop him by force, or you can convince him not to do it at all and he'll live. Additionally, you might have Rex or you might have his brother, Erdnot Reeve. And each of these different scenarios depend on your choices from the previous games, especially with Rex and Reeve, because with Reeve in charge, the entire outlook on the Krogan is completely different. Priority Tuchanka has some of the best character development in the series, and resolves a conflict 3 games in the making. Plus, you get to see a giant worm take down a Reaper, placing it in the top 3. Lair of the Shadow Brothers is a non-stop action-packed joyride of a mission. You go to Liara's apartment and someone tries to kill her. You track her down to a trade center and then that blows up. I love the sense of urgency in this part of the mission, as you rush up to see if Liara is still alive. You learn that the Spectre you've been working with is behind everything. And that's when you start to chase for Televasir. The car scene is really cool and has some good banter between Liara and Shepard.
Truck!
I know.
Truck!
I know.
And now we can talk about Televasir. She is a great example of what Spectres are meant to be. Someone who will get the job done no matter what, even if it means working with the Shadow Broker. And her boss fight is really fun. After finishing Vasir, you head out to go deal with the Shadow Broker. That's right, this mission not only gives you 1, but 2 boss fights. The Broker is less dynamic, but still very menacing. He keeps advancing on you, so you have to keep moving. But then his shield comes up, so no more guns and no more space magic. Just time to run hands. Past the Broker, we can finally discuss why this mission is really important. It saved Liara's character. In Mass Effect 2, Liara becomes a completely different person, and initially it's without explanation. But Lair of the Shadow Broker recontextualizes everything, explaining why Liara became such a badass, and just how far she went for Shepard. The fact that Lair of the Shadow Broker was originally DLC is a crime, because everyone should have been allowed to play this mission from the start. It's that damn good. At long last, you recruited all your squad mates, you've earned their loyalty by helping them with their personal issues, and you've hopefully fully upgraded your ship. And now you stand before your final challenge, the Suicide Mission. The Suicide Mission stands as an example on how to write a final mission. It's built up from very early in Mass Effect 2, and everything you do is to prepare for that mission. If you neglect anything at all, you may lose a squad mate before you even get to the Collector base. And I think the reason everyone remembers this mission is because no one is safe at all. You can lose favorites like Garrus, Tali, and Grunt, or deliberately send Jacob into the vents. Your choice. Either way, Getting to choose where everyone goes adds level of interactivity that no other final mission has. Garrus is always my fire team leader. It's great seeing him lead the other half of the squad.
Suppressing fire! Don't let anyone through that door!
But at the same time, you can make the wrong decision. I'm sure everyone has a story of losing a squad mate during a suicide mission. For me, I foolishly trusted Miranda when she said she could keep the bubble up, which resulted in me losing a squad mate. But just the fact that you can fail makes this mission so incredible. Everyone can die, including Shepard. But at the same time, you can succeed with everybody. In an act of defiance, everyone can survive the suicide mission. And at the end of it all, you can see everyone who survived. All these people coming from different backgrounds, who all had no trust in each other, working together to achieve the impossible. The suicide mission is everything you could want from a final mission. The build-up, the execution, and the finale are all amazing. If the series had ended here, you could almost be satisfied. The suicide mission is the mission.